Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Millennium TV News. This is Isha Jahan with the top stories. Obama pokes fun at Kanye West's presidential ambitions. Kunduz strikes US to compensate victims of hospital bombing. RAF helicopter crash. 5 NATO staff die in Afghanistan. Social Democrats hold off far-right in Vienna elections. Syria conflict, Putin defends Russia's airstrikes. Now, the detail. Kanye West announced his plans to run for elections as US President in 2020 earlier this year and told Vanity Fair that he had received lots of support since he made his ambitions clear. Speaking at a fundraising event, the current US president offered some words of advice, including being cool, dealing with some strange characters who behave like they're on a reality TV show. At least 22 staff and patients were killed in the bombing in the city of Kunduz a week ago. The US has said the strike was a mistake and that it was trying to target Taliban insurgents. MSF has called the attack a war crime and called for an international committee to investigate. Those injured in the strike and the families of those killed are eligible for condolence payments from the US. The Department of Defense believes it is important to address the consequences of the tragic incident at the MSF hospital, a Pentagon spokesman said. Funds will also be made available to repair the hospital, the Pentagon added. President Obama has apologized to the MSF president and the Afghan leader for the incident. MSF is still trying to trace more than 30 staff and patients who remain unaccounted for. The Puma Mk2 helicopter crashed as it was landing at NATO's Resolute Support Mission headquarters, Kabul. NATO has not released the nationalities of the other victims or the 5 left injured. A Ministry of Defense spokesman said the crash was an accident and not the result of insurgent activity. The families of the British victims have been informed, the MOD said. They have asked for a period of grace before their names are released. The accident comes after a convoy of UK military vehicles was attacked in Kabul, the Afghan capital, on Sunday morning. 7 people were injured and there were no UK casualties, the MOD said. The MOD has said an improvised explosive device caused an explosion, while officials in Kabul said it was a suicide bombing. The Taliban said it carried out attack in retaliation for airstrikes in Kunduz, which killed civilians and doctors. Preliminary results show the center-left party secured about 39% of the vote, down nearly 5% from the last election in 2010. The Freedom Party, who campaigned on concerns of mass migration, had 31%, an increase of about 5%. The result means the Social Democrats can continue to govern in coalition. It is expected that the Green Party, which polled about 12%, will remain the Social Democrats' coalition partner in the new Vienna city government. The Social Democrats have ruled the capital since 1945, but on the far-right Freedom Party looks set to claim its strongest result yet. Capitalizing on the fears about migrants and the economy, the BBC's Bethany Bell in Vienna reports. Tens of thousands of migrants heading for Germany have passed through Vienna in recent weeks, our correspondent says. About 5% of them have applied for asylum in Austria. Mr. Putin told Russian state TV Moscow also wanted to create conditions for a political compromise in Syria. He denied that Russian airstrikes were hitting moderate opposition groups rather than Islamic State militants. Syrian forces are said to have made significant advances against rebels. Government gains in Idlib, Hama, Latakia provinces were on Sunday reported both by Damascus and opposition activists. The main battlefront is currently close to Haikiwe that links the capital with other major cities including Aleppo, and Mr. Assad's forces are believed to be seeking to cut off rebels in Idlib. Planes attacked Kurdistan Workers' Party targets in both the southeast and over the border in northern Iraq. Saturday's twin bombing in Ankara killed at least 95 people, making it the deadliest such attack in years. Security sources say they suspect the so-called Islamic State group was behind the attack. The Air Force struck after the government rejected a new ceasefire announced by the PKK on Saturday. Turkey was already tense before Saturday's attack, with a snap general election looming on 1st November. The governing Justice and Development Party lost its overall majority in June after gains by the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party, which was involved in Saturday's rally. Viewers, will take a short break. Stay here in a moment with the headlines here. Military claims al-Baghdadi convoy hit. Palestinians killed in Israel-Gaza airstrike. Japanese woman held in China for spying. Nepal elects KP Oli and PM amid political crisis. No entrance exams for children, PM. Let's move to the next news. The fate of the IS leader was unknown, it said. Hospital sources told Reuters news agency that several IS figures were among the casualties, but there were no sign of Baghdadi. There have previously been reports that the IS leader has been killed or seriously injured in attacks, but none was subsequently confirmed. The BBC's Jim Moore said military statements from the Iraqi authorities on the results of actions against jihadi or insurgent leaders have been unreliable in the past and are treated with some caution. Israel's military said it targeted Hamas weapon-making facilities. Palestinian officials said a woman and child in a nearby house were killed. West Bank officials say a boy of 13 was shot dead by Israeli forces during clashes near a Jewish settlement, and later 4 Israelis were injured in the latest stabbing attack as tensions continue to escalate. Earlier in the West Bank, a Palestinian woman was seriously injured after setting off an explosion at a checkpoint, Israeli police said. At least 24 Palestinians, including attackers, and 4 Israelis have been killed in violence so far this month, news agencies report. This follows weeks of tension over access to a site in East Jerusalem sacred to both Jews and Muslims. The unnamed woman from Tokyo, said to be in her 50s, worked at a language school in the Japanese capital. She was arrested while in Shanghai in June. She is the 4th Japanese citizen to be detained on spying charges since May, all in different parts of China. The arrest is likely to increase tensions between the two countries. China has not commented on the latest report, but our correspondent says the leadership in Beijing has toughened its state on national security with a new commission and stronger laws. Sino-Japanese relations are already strained by revived war memories and tensions over the South China Sea. The Japan Times reported that the woman who is being held had made several recent visits to China. The purpose of her most recent visit to China was unclear, it said. Mr. Oli received 338 votes of the 597-member chamber, the speaker announced. Mr. Oli told cheering supporters in Parliament that he saw his appointment as an honor and a challenge. The new leader will have to handle continued protests over a new constitution, the rebuilding of the country after April's devastating earthquake, and a fuel shortage. Mr. Oli, who was backed by a coalition of royalists, Maoists, and centrists, is the prime minister to be elected under the new constitution, defending the previous prime minister, Sushil Koirala. Some analysts say that the conservative Mr. Oli will be less able than the Mr. Koirala to reach out to the disaffected Madheshu community of southern Nepal who oppose the new constitution. The BJP, led by Mr. Modi, is battling a grand coalition of local parties led by 2 former Bihar chief ministers, Nitish Kumar and Lalu Prasad Yadav. More than 66 million voters are eligible to cast their ballots in 243 seats between Monday and 5th November. Votes for the 5th poll will be counted on 8th November. Opinion polls are predicting a closely fought election. Polling is being held in 49 constituencies in 10 districts on Monday. A total of 583 candidates are in the fray. In the absence of a popular local leader, Mr. Modi has led the campaign for his party and has addressed a number of well-attended campaign meetings. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said that kids should be enrolled in primary schools without any entrance exams. Why should a kid sit for entrance exam? It is not mandatory to go through exams for getting admitted into the primary school, the Prime Minister said at a program at Shilpakola Dhaka Sunday morning. She also ordered ministries to take proper steps in this regard. Children should admit into schools in their own area. It is their right, she added. Addressing those children who roam around the streets and don't get a chance to study, the Prime Minister directed the Ministries of Women and Children Welfare and Social Welfare to look into the issue. Ensure education for every child. No children should roam around on the streets, she added. Viewers, now the business news. In Australia, the S&P ASX 200 was down 0.81% at 5,236.90 after hitting a 6-week peak on Friday. While South Korea's benchmark Kospi was flat at 2,019.61 points in mid-morning trade, shares in China, however, were looking more positive. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index was up 0.81% at 22,648.10, while on the mainland, the Shanghai Composite was up to 0.55% at 3,200.53. Markets in Japan are closed for a public holiday. Analysts agreed the Fed was looking less likely to raise rates soon, which would mean any more money would flow into markets. The only data supporting raising the Fed funds rate has been employment, which has begun to shrink in the last quarter, coupled with increased talks of the approaching debt ceiling negotiations, not to mention the 2016 presidential election, said Evan Lucas from IG Markets. All means we're seeing signs of the liftoff being pushed back as inflation remained nowhere to be seen, he said. Men over the age of 65 and women over the age of 63 can get up to £25 a week extra on their state pension in return for a one-day off payment. How much they have to pay will depend on their exact age. The older they get, the lower the cost. The offer is open to existing pensioners and anyone who will reach state pension age before April 2016. After that date, the new, more generous single-tier person will kick in. The current basic state pension is worth up to £115.95. The new flat rate pension will be worth up to £155 a week to those that qualify. Viewers, now the sports news. The US held a 1-point lead going into the final day's 12 singles matches and maintained that advantage at the Jack Nicklaus Club in Incheon, South Korea. Bill Haas, the son of Captain Jay, scored the winning point by beating South Korea-based Sang-moon. Haas secured victory on the 18th hole of a tense finale to the competition. Jay Haas said he told his 33-year-old son, "Come on, win one for your mom. Your mom deserves this," he added. "We put him out with 12th and had no idea what was going to happen. Couldn't have even dreamt this." Sang-moon needed to win the final hole to have his match with Haas Jr., but conceded after falling a poor chip into the 18th with a missed putt. The 29-year-old will now begin 2 years of compulsory military service in South Korea. Haas was the 5th American to win his singles match, with Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Chris Kirk, and Jack Johnson doing likewise. Adam Scott, Hideki Matsuyama, Steven Bodwich, Mark Leishman, and Brandon Grace were the international winners with 2 matches halved. Mikael O'Neillmans had looked like ending a triumphant campaign with a win, having led for most of the match through a Craig Cathcart header. Defender Cathcart, 26, glanced in his first NI goal in the 31st minute after Neil McGinn had clipped in a cross. Central defender Paulus Ajuri had Finland's equalizer in the 87th minute. It was a disappointing end for Northern Ireland, but they have finished top of a qualifying group for the first time, winning 6 of their 10 games. They are the first 5th seeds to win a European Championship qualifying group. Viewers, let's have a look at Millennium TV News Recap. Obama pokes fun at Kanye West's presidential ambitions. Kunduz strikes US to compensate victims of hospital bombing. RAF helicopter crash. 5 NATO staff die in Afghanistan. Social Democrats hold off far-right in Vienna elections. Syria conflict, Putin defends Russia's airstrikes. You are up to date with our top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log into www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you and stay with Millennium TV. Allah Hafiz.